Yeah. So
Welcome
I don't
back.
know.
Welcome back, everyone. Hope you missed us, all zero viewers. We missed a week. That's thanks to me. I apologize. Hope you are all staying safe. Hope you're all figuring out a way to cope with what's going on in the world. We don't want to touch too
Yeah.
much on it just because we're not a political show and it's not what we do. So let's not say more than that, or do you want to say something?
Yeah, no, let's, it's a dark time, so I think if there's anything we can do to lift people up, let's do it, because
We're ready to talk some shit about the film. Sorry to bother you. We just watched it, and yeah, so it was a keen recommendation, and I watched it. And at first, I was like, "Well, this is interesting." Then it got a little weird. Then it got a lot of weird.
that was why I told you don't. I mean, of course, fortunately, you don't even watch trailers or anything.
Yeah, no, no,
So I was like, don't read the synopsis, don't read anything, just go in blind.
dude, dude, it was it, it's like there were a lot of allegories and symbolism in the film, and then it just became, oh no shit, they're just going straight up literal now. And then it took that, like, if the line between an allegory and literalism was like one line, they took it and they played hopscotch, like they fucking played jump rope with it. It was like they fucking, I don't know what
Yeah.
people were smoking when they came up with this. I mean, look, like, I get the film, and we're about to break it down and everything, but like, to sort of cut to the chase, or not bury the lead. The only issue I had was as soon as they started introducing horse people, because what happened there was like, I get what they were trying to do, but people are shifting towards robots. You don't want any biological factor because they make more errors. I was when I saw horse people, I'm like, no, that's not what a crazy billionaire slave owner would do. He'd want robots, like, and then that's where it just went like, I'm not following this. But in the beginning, where it was just like lifetime contract, work, and a place to live or whatever, I'm like, I can see that shit happening. I can see
Yep.
some corporation doing that shit. And then when it was, when Terry Cruz's character is like, dude, I'm in a bind, and I talked to one of those salespeople. Doesn't seem that bad. So he hots on a cot or whatever. I'm like, ooh, this is kind of creepy because this could be real. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah.
then when he released that video of the horse thing, and he was like, "Talk to your Congress," and then people didn't give a shit, and the Congress,
Yeah.
like, dude, they became even more of a billionaire or whatever.
Yeah. That was
I
that
was like,
was so real, huh?
yeah, that was like a little upsetting how real that could actually be. I was like, yeah, I believe all of that. Like, they lost me at the horse shit. Like, if they had just found another spin at the end, and
Yeah.
then they would get the shit kicked out of you, and 150 million people watch it every day. I was like, yeah, that seems to be like mocking the amount of stupid shit we watch as a people.
Yeah.
And it was just, it flirted with, like, it was satire mixed in with a little foreshadowing, mixed in with a little like, loose, um loose allegories. Yeah, I'm trying to find a synonym for allegories just so I don't keep repeating the word, but
Um,
uh, you know,
like it seemed kind of like a fable in a
hmm
sense.
hmm it was like, how do we get a message across without directly saying it? And then in the end, they're like, no, let's just fucking directly say it. And then, it kind of worked with her performance art too, because at first it was all like symbolizing one thing or the other. Like, oh, stick to the script, and like they're throwing shit at her, and she's just saying the script. And
Yeah.
then when she does the thing about the guy fucking the horse, and she writes to try and turn people into horses, and they're like, "Oh, what does her performance art mean this time?" She's like, "Oh, that's fucking literal this time." Like, like, in a way, that was kind of brilliant because they were doing that
Yeah.
to us, and then it was like, no, no, no.
Yeah.
Even when this shit's in your face, you're gonna find a way to misunderstand it.
So here's the thing. One of the reasons I wanted you to see it is, um, and I know this might probably turn some people off, but let me just be honest. For years, even I turned away from black movies
Okay.
because I subconsciously saw them as inferior.
Okay.
So, at a certain point, I started watching a few, and I was surprised to find a number of them that were actually pretty good. Um, Maybe because they've gotten bolder, and I say they like, black filmmakers,
Hmm.
because, if you watch maybe stuff like BET, or, you'd see kind of like the typical lowbrow stuff, like it's not like you don't have to think that much. It's just straight drama. It's just kind of simplistic. But, I'd seen some where, what they're really well-made films, and I'm into weird films, at least to a certain extent. So when I first saw the trailer for this movie, I thought, like, the trailer doesn't reveal anything about the weirdness.
As
The
a
main,
trailer should. I hate it when trailers give the plot away.
it did not give anything away. In fact, what ended up seeming like it was the theme of the movie was from the trailer was just that call center thing about, oh, use your white voice. And it kind of pissed me off. I worked at a call center, so I knew that. So of course I should have found it funny, because when I shared it with my call center buddies, they were like, "Ah, King, that's you." Or that was you. But for some reason, it kind of pissed me off, because I was like, really, you're gonna make a movie based off of, or use your white voice? I just felt like it was another dig at, white people, which I'm like, I get it. We
I
have all
did.
these.
I didn't
No,
get
no,
it
no,
to
no, no.
this
That was
stage.
no, no, no. That was what I got. That was like
Oh,
my
okay.
personal take from the, from seeing the trailer. Like, oh,
Oh, from the
yeah,
trailer. Okay.
yeah, like, oh, gotta use your white voice. Like, you gotta sound privileged. That was what I took. So I didn't see it in the movie theaters.
Right, right. No, I love the way they explained what the older black gentleman explained what he meant by white voice. He's like, no, no, no. He was like, I'm not talking about nasally, blah blah blah. No, no. Act like you don't give a fuck. Like, yeah, oh, I'm gonna hang up with you and then get in my own Ferrari. Like
Yes.
he laid it out, and then I was like, oh, I see the brilliance of what they're doing now.
So that's the thing, like, watching the movie clarified it. But when I saw the trailer, it was just like, oh, you gotta use your white voice, and then you see this guy like, talking all nasally, and I'm like, really? They made a movie, and it was kind of disappointing to me, because the lead actor,
Hmm.
I love his movies. Like, I don't know what it is about that guy, but I just love watching his shit. Have you seen Get Out?
I haven't no.
Okay. Anyway, he was also
I
in that
know
movie.
the Jordan Peele film, Oscar winning, everything. I knew the genre was horror, and I'm not a horror guy, so I stayed away.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's true. I'm the horror guy. For
Yeah,
some reason, I thought you were also
it
into
wasn't a
it.
black thing. Like it was, it wasn't like
Oh, no, no,
oh
no, no,
like
no, no. No, 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 no. It's not even that. I mean, Jordan Peele has hit the home run with some of his stuff, and with others, it's a miss.
dude.
So,
I saw the other horror one he did where everyone was in the red
Us,
jumpsuit.
did you
Yeah,
like it?
it scared the shit out of me. That lady, the main actress, she's fucking brilliant. All four people in that film, in that family, with the jumpsuits, were
Yeah.
phenomenally good at scaring the ever living daylights out of me. And I only
Okay.
saw it because I was with Muhammad in when he came over to visit, and he wanted to see it. I was like, okay, no, no, it was here in Egypt, and he was like, let's go see it. It's supposed to be great. I'm like, I mean, if you really must, okay. And then it scared the bejesus out of me. Well, I don't know what the actress's name was, but the main actress, she was
Um,
phenomenal.
I know. I should know her name.
She's
I
she's
know her
very
name.
famous. I should know her
Ah,
name, but
I know it starts with like, you know what? I'm just gonna look it up.
you're looking it up.
How could I forget her name?
There's a name in my head, but I don't
Uh,
want to say it because if I say it and it's not her, then it's like, oh, I'm not pissing.
Lupita. I'm not gonna try to pronounce her last name.
Yeah, she was
Yeah,
phenomenal. Phenomenal,
yeah.
and she scared me, and the little girl that was playing her daughter scared me, and so did the little boy in the mask. And it was so good, and I was so terrified. Ending was kind of weird, like I didn't fully understand everything, but it was just, yeah, I just don't do horror, especially well-made horror. I'll watch a shitty horror film if it doesn't scare me,
Oh, okay.
but when I heard horror and Oscar winning, I was like, not my lane.
Yeah, Get Out was more my thing. Us, I wasn't particularly happy about it. Like it had all the elements, but I think I probably expected a lot. So
Mhm.
when I go to see Candyman, I'm going to just drop my expectations because Candyman scared the shit out of me as a kid. So the fact that they're going to remake it with a dude that I like the lead actor is the guy that played Dr. Manhattan in the Watchmen TV series. So
Dude,
um,
as a kid, I was even terrified by not like fucking. Do you remember Charmed, the show about the three witches?
I
Yeah,
know
that
about it, but
scared
I
me.
didn't watch it. Yeah.
Yeah, that scared me as a kid. Buffy the Vampire Slayer scared me as a kid, and like, dude, I'm not proud to admit this, but one time I was startled by my own shadow. I mean, it just, you know what? I scare very easily.
Well, I'm not gonna judge you. I'll try.
It's like I won't judge you publicly. I'll keep it in my head. Maybe I'll bust your balls off camera, but
I mean, you're badass now, so hey, So
oh man.
yeah, but yeah, let's get back to it. So yeah, those were the things that prevented me from seeing the movie. But then I thought, let me give it a chance, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Right.
Um, it seems like, I mean, when you watch it, you know that the the people that were involved in crafting that story or making the movie were really good. They're
Yeah.
you know they're learned people, like but it also felt like it was just people that had read a lot of books, had a lot of ideas, and they just kind of threw everything in a blender and just
They fucked it up by giving it a comedic undertone. So when they start off the film, there's like a comedic element where, the garage opens and it's embarrassing, and then he's telling Terry Crews, it's like, oh yeah, you just want to own everything and not help other people. He's like, I'm your uncle. I gave you the car. And then when he goes and he's like 40 on two, but he gives her 40 cents, not $40. And it's like
yeah,
he's driving a bucket and or whatever. There was like a certain lightheartedness to it, and not
yeah.
like you could have covered the exact same issues but made it a little darker. Oh, I mean, sorry to like divert the conversation, but did you ever see that clip of the dude who reinterpreted Fresh Prince of Bel Air and made it dark or real and gritty?
I haven't. I'll
So
go check that out after.
yeah, it was a quick clip where he took the premise of the Fresh Prince of Bel Air, and he made it where it was like a dude from like an actual like ghetto area of Philly, and then and his mom was like, how could you get fight with those people playing basketball? If it wasn't for your uncle calling in a favor because he's a judge, you'd be in jail. And then like he comes here, and his uncle is like a little bit more no nonsense, and Carlton isn't goofy and dorky. He's just like a quote unquote white black guy,
Uppity.
or yeah. And then he meets Jazz, and Jazz is gritty, and they play basketball together, and it's a different take on it. And you'll see a video with the dude who came up with the idea. He made a trailer. He like busted out a trailer to like demonstrate his point of view, and Will Smith discusses it with him. But that's what I mean. Like they had a comedic undertone to the opening of the film, and if they had avoided that, it would have been better. Because now I'm like watching it as a comedy as opposed to something that should make me think and evoke emotion. So if they had just avoided that, but then they just steered right into the jokes toward the end. You know what I mean? Like it was,
Well,
well, maybe not steered in a way, but okay. So when he meets this billionaire dude, and I forgot the name, but when he meets him, he's weird. He's kind of racist. He's like, oh, you must have take off the white voice. Oh, you must be able to rap. Oh, did you bust a cap in anyone's ass? Like, dude, it came off lighthearted because he's being a douche and he's being stupid and ignorant and shit. But it would have been better if there were no jokes and it was like, no, some white people think like this, especially those rich white people think like this. And it was just like,
yeah,
I get the message you're sending and I got it, but you people
yeah.
are going to misinterpret it because you've made it a little comedic. You know what I mean? And if they had just done the second Fresh Prince of Bel Air take, it would have been a lot more powerful. I don't
But
know.
here's the thing. I think
Oh, sorry, dude. I
for
can't hear
what?
you. I'm sorry. You could have been talking this whole time and
Oh,
say something.
can you hear me now?
Nope. Say something.
Ah, la, la, la,
Okay,
la, la,
now I can hear
la.
you. My bad. My
Okay,
bad.
cool. No, that's cool. So what I wanted to say is that um, I think the comedic tone was good because I think they were trying to convey some really heavy stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, somehow they weren't able to get it to hit hard or, to drive home. They weren't able to drive the points home, I guess, in a way that the layman or like, the average person would get the ideas. Because in this case, I think I'm the layman, like I'm the average person. I don't know about you, but like
I'm lay
I
as shit.
I kind of got certain ideas, but in the end, I wasn't sure what to take from the movie. I love the movie, don't get me wrong. I love it, that's why I recommend it. But it's just one of those things where, okay, so I love the use of music. I love that there was something edgy about the music that was used. I love the surrealism, whether it's camera work, cinematography, the editing, and whatever, especially like with his girlfriend and her funny
Earrings.
earrings
Yeah.
and just everything about her. I love that actress. And I love that, like the relationships were flawed. Like it seemed very, at
Real.
least the relationships seemed real. Like,
Yeah.
the girl being a certain way or wanting him to change, and, basically doing some
Well,
dirt, like being kind of low.
she
Doing
didn't want him to change. Her issue is that he did change.
no, she wanted him to change right after he got that
Oh, right,
job
right,
that,
right.
you know, because okay, so this is why it was kind of mixed up, and this is why I think I wanted to discuss it because it's not an easy movie to talk about. He started off seeming introspective, like, asking all
Mhm.
these existential questions and whatever. And then you also saw that he was determined. Typically, for people that are introspective, like the way he was introduced, his character was introduced, they seem kind of stuck. Like they don't
He
seem to be driven.
because
But
he with the introspection he was a little nihilistic. He's like, what's the point of it all? At one point we're all just
yeah,
gonna die and yeah.
yeah, but then you see him like in any situation he was like if he saw something which got his interest, somehow he was just committed to it and he just gave it his all.
Hmm.
Like, with just the idea of working at where his friend's place, well, sorry, the call center, he went and bought a
The yeah,
trophy,
yeah.
got
The
all this, like he was committed to getting that. He got in, he was also committed to making it, made it big, was committed to becoming, top, whatever, what they call 'em, like, sorry, shot caller. And then
yeah.
he ended up becoming that. So, it was kind of confusing for me, like, how his character was able to be all those things in one. Then, yeah, so at least,
He
I
was
think,
I liked it because he was driven. He just needed a path to follow, right? Because sometimes it's like,
yeah,
look, man, I don't mind working hard. I just don't know what to do. And that was kind of the way I saw him. What bugged me about him, and this has nothing to do with the film, it has nothing to do with anything at all. I don't know whose choice it was, but he spent the entire movie bent physically. Like he always seemed to be just tilting at the hips. And I was
yeah.
all this like him trying to show he's not gonna stand up straight until he has a few dollars in his pocket. Like what's gonna happen? But he spent the entire movie like that. I was like, dude, fix your goddamn posture. I don't it
He
just
doesn't, I don't think he's like that. I think he was trying to convey something. I think he was just trying to
to
convey
me,
that the character was unsure of himself. And
right.
you could even see that even as far as when he was in that wealthy guy's place. Like even okay, so even the guy with the patch on his eye, he
Right.
seemed like, what's the word that you can use? Like he seemed like a guy who was sure of himself. Like
My
uh,
my point was
every-
at no point in the film did he ever stand up straight, right? Like if you're gonna be bent and broken, at least contrast it with something so that I know that this isn't just he doesn't have a spinal issue, right?
I see. I see what you
If
mean.
you if there was one, like, he was broken before he made the money, and then when he made the money and stepped into, like, you know white man's world or whatever, like rich people's land,
Yeah.
he didn't feel comfortable, so he was still broken there. And it's just like, when am I gonna see you with a backbone? Because there was a period there where he was hot shit, right? Where he made the money, he had the apartment, he had the girl, he had this, that, and the other. There should be at least one scene where it's like, I'm the shit. I don't know.
Are you sure that was how he was throughout? Because he seemed kind of confident when he was making his calls, especially when he was a short caller, when he had his office. Like how he'd sit back in the chair and, cross his legs and make the calls.
Mm,
Like he
maybe
seemed kind of powerful at that point.
because they had him sit down. Maybe I missed it. You know what I mean? Also,
Probably.
like, some of the things, I don't know if they were meant to be some sort of intellectual thing or if it was just meant to be some dumb joke, like the number of buttons you press on the elevator to get in.
Oh yeah, it was a dumb joke.
That was a joke because I read way too far into that one. Uh, and there were like a lot of things that I read too far into, like that scene really early in the beginning where they go to the bar and he's like, "That's a VIP room. How'd you get in? Oh, it's a password. What's the password? It's the same password every week." I'm like, okay, what are they trying to say here? Because the film was really intellectual, but because it does have a comedic undertone, I'm all like, okay, is this joke or is this an allegory of sorts that I'm missing? Like, when she throws the soda at his head and she becomes a celebrity based off of it, and he becomes a punk. I'm all like, are
Yeah.
they trying to say something about celebrities, or was this just a funny joke? Like, what's going on here?
It probably was both because I've heard that line before. I've
What
heard
was
it
the line?
actually. Have a Coke and a smile.
Oh, okay. Oh, so they're probably poking fun at Coca-Cola or Pepsi or some shit.
Yeah, and
I
then you
don't
know
know.
how it
That's
became like
that.
m-
That's my point. Just eliminate the comedic undertone and let people put themselves in a mindset to try to understand what you're trying. Here's the thing. I don't mind that if there's no final message. I don't mind if you leave it open-ended because that's life, right? Like, there's no final message or whatever unless you're about to
yeah.
die. So I don't mind that stuff, but don't when you make me laugh, I then just, like, my brain will go, "Oh, they're just being silly," and then I'll miss the point that you're trying to
Mm.
drive home. So it's just like, let's be serious. There's a time and a place to joke. Look who's saying that, but there's a time and a place.
Well, I mean, I know that, for you it probably came across that way. And yes, I did have certain issues with like, what am I supposed to take away with this? But there were certain moments that I could relate to, like, when he was at the party where, these people, or sorry, that guy was making the jokes like, yo, if you bust a cap in anyone's ass or stuff like that. Like, I haven't been asked those questions verbatim,
Exactly,
but
but they
I have
alluded
been
to.
in those situations where it's like I'm surrounded by a group of people who, haven't really interacted with people of my kind or my background, and they're saying all these really dumb things, but in some cases, they seem really honest. In other cases, you can tell that it's more of a joke, like they're poking
Right,
fun.
right.
And I could see that he really wanted to, he didn't want to disappoint them. So that was when he started,
N
rapping
word,
the
N word, N
whatever.
word, N word,
Yeah,
N word, N
and
word.
and I laughed. I laughed when I saw that initially, but I felt his pain. And you know how like even the guy with the patch, after like after he'd performed and he was sitting down just drinking, like I guess drinking his sorrows away, and the guy was like young blood, just just hang in there.
Dude, I laughed because it was so dumb and so asinine, but it had such a nice beat that I was all like, I was like, God damn, they got me. Like,
Nah, for me it was like, yeah, I laughed initially when he said that, but I felt his pain, especially afterwards when he was in the chair. I could tell like it was kind of like, so for me it was almost like his story it seemed like his story was like, here's this guy that started out being thoughtful. Yes, he was determined to make it,
mm,
even though he wasn't quite sure of what he was reaching for. But he put his all into it. He eventually got it, and then along the way, he willingly let go of his virtues,
Right, right.
like,
No, I see.
just
No, I
in
get it.
exchange. And then, at that point, he's like,
He sold out. He sold out. I
I've
get it.
sold out. Yeah. And then he was even willing to sell out more until that guy told him that bad shit idea. And he was like, what the
Hold
fuck?
up. Yeah. He's like, oh yeah,
turn people into what?
he was all like, yeah, I could have people come work for your soulless corporation where they're basically slaves, but then like the breaking point was animal horse people, right? But
Yeah.
just so that I don't forget, it was a little effed up in that scene that the entire audience was white people, and then they repeated the lyrics with him. So he goes N word, N word, N word, N word, and then the white people
Yeah.
are all chanting it. I was like, oh, hey, something's not right here. Like that point aside, just so that I don't forget, it was like when he said $100 million over 5 years, that pissed me off because it's like, all right, bruh, you are about to become close to a trillionaire based off the storyline of this film. Why are you only giving him 100 mil? It should have been $1 billion. It should have been 10 billion. You should have made this dude a billionaire. And it was $100 million over 5 years. I was like, that's $20 million a year. That's just pro athlete money. That's not fuck you money. I mean, no. It is fuck you money. I just mean it's fathomable. It's not something you want to test a man's morals. Just throw a number out there that you can't say no to, right? I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, then again, he must have done some research into the guy's background. I mean, let's assume that, like,
Oh no, for
he would
sure. He
kn
knows where he came from.
he yeah, he'd know, like, this guy. I mean, look, I followed his trajectory and whatever. He seems like a guy who would, you know,
No, but I just
sell his
mean
soul for this much.
you're about to be a trillionaire off the plot line, right? I'm assuming, or at
Yeah,
least several hundred, like at least Bezos' money. Is a
yeah.
$1 billion really that hard to part with for someone who's gonna make that vision come true? Like, let's be real.
I mean, he could use anyone, but I
Not really.
guess.
He needed the dude who's a really good salesman who can bridge the gap between blacks and whites because he could put on a white voice. Now he needs to put on like a horse voice or whatever. It's
I know.
yeah. And then I found it so funny where he was like, I'm gonna need you to focus on the second point. You're gonna have a horse cock. And I was like, we went straight comedy there. And then like my dick bigger is it big? I can't tell from this angle. And then he calls his girlfriend's character, and then she's like looking at his dick. She's like, nah, same size. And I'm like, oh God, you're going deep into the joke here. She's like, why are
And
you
then
trying to look at your nostrils? Like,
I know that was kind of
funny.
funny too. But yeah, what was it I wanted to say? I mean, ultimately it was cool. It was cool for
Yeah,
me.
no, it was a
It's
chill
something I'd like
film.
to watch over and over. I mean, sorry, not over and over, but watch a few more times. Maybe there are a couple of things that
If
I
you
might
watch it
have
a few
left.
more times, you'll come away with different messages every time. Because here's the thing, man. We've talked about this for, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes or so now. We've touched on so few of the points that were being made in that film. Because
Oh
there
yeah,
was
yeah,
so
absolutely.
much. There was so much. But and I just kind of like painted with a broad brush and just said, had they avoided the comedy, you could take away a lot more. But here's the thing: we
Yeah.
could discuss what to take away all we want, but that's art, right? You take away what you should take away for you, you know?
Yeah, I know it was I know that part of it was a critique on capitalism, workers' rights
Celebrity,
issues. Yeah,
everything, black, white,
yeah,
and everything.
reality TV, or should I
Unions,
say like this,
banks.
or I don't know if I should. It seemed almost like, and and I don't mean that we're trying to copy this, but it seemed almost like RoboCop in a sense, like the sarcasm or the satire,
Mhm.
like when like I'd buy that for $1. Wait, do you remember all those jokes, like the funny commercials in RoboCop?
Don't think I do, or at least they're not coming to mind.
Like the commercials were weird. That's the
Mhm.
way I can describe them. Like they seemed out of touch.
Okay. Yeah.
but they kind of made sense in that world. Like,
Dude, have you seen
um,
commercials nowadays? It's all like Black Lives Matter. We need to stand together. Blah blah blah. Buy this soap. Like it's just.
that's exactly what it was. And back then, I mean, I maybe because I wasn't living here, but back then, for me, seeing that those commercials were hilarious as a kid because I was like, this is so fucking weird.
Yeah.
You're trying. Okay, so I don't know if this one makes sense right now because we have stuff that's probably as bad or worse. A doctor, like there's this commercial where they're talking about this new heart that's been designed or whatever. There's this doctor that's, giving you all the technological, like he's basically talking about the model and all these different things about basically about the heart. And then it's like at the very end, and he's like, when, oh, remember, we care. like, like it was an afterthought. So,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then there was one where they were trying to sell those. I think that's actually part two. They're trying to sell a car to you, but they're trying to sell you on the security system.
Oh.
So all it shows is someone trying to break into a car. Person breaks into the car, gets in the seat, tries to drive it away. All of a sudden, the seatbelt comes over him, and it's like, wait, what the fuck? And it electrocutes the person. Person dies instantly over there, and then falls out of the car. And then you see the salesperson like come and start talking about the car in the commercial.
Hey man, the reason it's like these things aren't too shocking is because the ad people today just need a little bit less whatever the fuck they're drinking in their coffee because it's just. Dude, I think Bill Burr mocked it, but he was talking about that Duracell ad where some lady's looking for her kid and her kid's lost. And she's calling out for him and she can't find him. And then she like takes out this device and then it tracks him to the kid or whatever. And she's like, oh, thank God I found you. And it's like Duracell batteries. Like,
What
and
the
this is a real ad. And then I think Bill
fuck?
Burr was mocking it. Where he's like, what? Wait, whoa, 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 whoa! Fuck the batteries! What was that device? They're gonna chip us all. That's what they were alluding to. They're trying to make this seem mainstream. Like,
Oh God.
yeah, ads today. I noticed, when I came over from Egypt to America, I'm like, why are all the ads here boring? Because here in Egypt, all the ads were either comedic and funny, or they were just straight up really, really quick
Literal.
infomercial. Like, buy
Okay.
this cheese. This cheese has so much nutrition. It's for your health, and it's going to make your kids grow up nice and strong. Like that. Or
Mm.
there was actually an ad that kind of went viral here, where it was like the cheese brand was Panda, and it was just a dude in a gigantic panda suit, and he would go to places and he'd be like, "You want some cheese?" And the people would be like, "No," and he'd just like fuck shit up, and he's like, "You don't say no to Panda." Like that was the quick. So he'd be in an office and like he'd just like throw some dude's computer off the desk and he's like, "You don't say no to Panda." Like that was it was either comedic or it was a straight up
Uh,
infomercial. And then I came to the States and it was just like a boringly read sales pitch, like buy this car today for blah 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 blah. And I was just like, oh, these are killing my soul.
oh man. So
We've discussed every goddamn thing in the world in this podcast
except the
but the
movie,
movie.
right?
But you know what? You know what? That's actually the brilliance of this movie because it made us think about so much shit in life that it wasn't about the movie. You know what I mean? That's whoever. I don't know who the director is, but kudos. I don't know who the writer is, but kudos. You fucking did it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's where I see. Like I'm even looking at my notes, so there are a few things that I was going to touch upon, but
Oh, there were
at
there
this
was
point, no.
there's so much shit I can touch on, but it's just like you know what? No, let people take away what they take away. Cause like some dumb shit like Left Eye, right? For example,
Yeah.
the way I interpreted that was left and then the letter I, lefty, which is what the conservatives call lefties. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh,
Huh.
is that? And then they're depicted as just being like Antifa-ist type characters where they're just like spray painting stuff and not really doing anything other than bitching and moaning. I'm like, okay, so they're satirizing the way conservatives could see some lefties or whatever. Or I shouldn't say lefties like that. Some left-leaning people or whatever. I was like, okay,
Huh.
And then I was like, well, that's my take, and I don't want to, if you and I discussed our take on each element introduced in this film, this is easily a multi-part series to the podcast. You know what I mean?
Actually, I would have liked that because I didn't think of it that way. Because Left
We
Eye, okay,
we could
because
do a reaction video where it's like we'll watch the film together, clip by clip, and then discuss it because there's just so much in this film. There's so much to it.
I guess we could do that. We could do that if I mean
I'd say
I'm sure I'm
comment
sure
if you
I'm
want.
sure I'm sure all two or all zero of our
Followers.
audience uh would love that. So
Well, that's
yeah,
what I was about to say. I was like, comment if you do want us to do that. I'm like, we don't get any comments. Like,
no, comment if you don't want us to.
okay, that's funny. I'm down to do it if you want. Like, shit.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, for sure. Cause hey, Left Eye. So the way I saw it was Left Eye was part of TLC. I don't know if you know
yeah,
TLC.
the band.
Yeah, the band. So band. Well, I
Well,
girl group,
group
whatever.
or
But
whatever.
yeah. But yeah, she was kind of militant like that.
Okay.
So that was the way I saw it. But the way you described it, it also makes sense because the person who directed and wrote the stories apparently is quite active in the community. So he might have,
Meant something deeper than.
seen, yeah, because God knows what he was smoking and what he had read. The horse thing in the end kind of reminded me of the Metamorphosis. I don't know if you know this author, Franz Kafka. His stories were kind of weird like that. Like they're kind of surreal and just kind of weird. Like people transforming into stuff. At least that was a story that I read, and just bureaucracy and just so when the horse thing happened eventually, I don't know why. That was the first thing that came to my mind. Like, oh, the metamorphosis. Maybe this person
Yeah.
had read a little bit of that story too. But
I don't
whatever,
know
man.
if it was. We have discussed. We've discussed the plot so much. We've talked so little about the actual filmmaking or techniques. I don't know if it was the version I was watching or whatever, but they really needed to figure out the sharpness and the contrast in their colors because a lot of the scenes were dark and I couldn't really. Maybe when I just had a bad stream and I just had
I
shitty
think you
internet that
did.
downgraded the quality.
You probably did because it was a
Oh
colorful
damn!
movie. It
Oh
was a col.
shit! Okay.
Yeah.
Ah fuck. See, okay, well maybe if we revisit it in a multi-part breakdown series, I'll be able to see it in living color or whatever.
All right. Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, I think we should just end it on this note.
We
Yo,
should, and it's because if we obsess over what we should be saying, it won't end because there's still
yeah.
much to say. All right, guys. Hope you've enjoyed this breakdown of Sorry to Bother You. We'll be back next week with I think Knives Out, right?
Yeah, Knives Out. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll be back next week with Knives Out. Sorry for missing last week. That was on me.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Peace out. Stay safe. And good luck coping with what's going on in the world. And we'll see you next week for some more comic relief here at Movie Butter. All right. See you guys.